So give me just a second. Okay, we are recording our session. With that, I'll turn it over to Yelena. Yelena, go ahead, please.
All right. Hello, everybody. So the purpose of tonight's session is to help you get started with Cognos Analytics that you're going to use for the rest of the course. And my name is Yelena. I'm a Cognos Analytics administrator. And tonight I'll talk to you on how you're going to be accessing environment. I'll show you how to get started. We talked about the navigation, and we're going to talk about the data preparation, data exploration, and so on, right? So what exactly are we going to talk about tonight? Cognos Analytics is nothing but the self-service. It's very intuitive web-based interface. What you do is, I uploaded the data for you, right? You're not gonna be uploading the data, but I uploaded the data. While the data was uploading, the application extracted some useful information. And then when you create a visualization, it will present the finding in a natural language. You just drag and drop the data into the canvas and you get your analysis, right? The system will recommend the visualizations for you based on the data that you're looking at, right? So, and you may also build the interactive dashboard and stories. This part is going to be in our next class in a month from now. We'll do the dashboard and stories. Today, we will focus on data preparation and the data exploration, all right? Then you could also do the reporting, but this is not covered in this course. Very important few things. You want to avoid using the browser back button because you're going to lose the work. And when you delete something, right, in general, when you delete, like, I'll show you exactly what I mean, but deletions cannot be undone. There's no recycle bin, just keep it in mind, right? So, and I'm going to talk more about this, but when you delete the visualization, or when you delete the data set, perhaps, right? So any visualizations that where you used that data set as a source is going to be invalid. It's going to be damaged. Another thing to remember is that you'll be working on a remote computer, so you cannot copy paste text directly. You have to use the clipboard tools that I'm going to show you today. You want to always save your work, right? And you want to start working on assignment early, because what happens if you're going to get stuck, you know? That's so bad. So what you're going to do is, first, you're going to go to this webpage, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, right? But after this session, what I would like you guys to do is that check your access to your account. And if anything goes wrong, you need to let your faculty know, and they will contact me, or you can contact me directly also. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to log in from scratch. I prefer to use Google Chrome. So I copy and paste this URL, right? This takes you to UMUC single sign-on page. What you do in here is you need to put your username, the same username that you access Leo, and your password is the same that you access Leo, okay? Okay, login, come on. Okay, this is gonna take you to the Citrix. First of all, note that the page you see is going to be slightly different because you don't have the admin privileges that I do. But somewhere on the page, you should see this IBM Cognos shortcut. What you'll do is you click on it, and it will open up the browser and the application in the browser. It stays starting Google Chrome. So let me go back. This is the next slide. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna see this login screen. On the first line here, your username, it's going to be the same as your Leo username. And this is a password. It's a capital letter W. This is number 3, LCOME, and the exclamation point. So this is what I did. The password has to have a number, and it has to have an uppercase letter and special character. So what I did, I took the word welcome and I replaced the letter E with number 3, because on your keyboard, number 3 is right above letter E, okay? So, but what I'm gonna do right now, instead of logging into my account, right, under my username, I have a different account, non-admin account that I use for the demo, right? Because I don't want to use my admin account. That's going to confuse everybody, all right? So I'm going to do this. Let's see. All right. So what you'll do is when you log into your account, if you have not done it yet, after this session, please try that. And this is a page that you're gonna see. This is called the welcome page. In this area, this is called the work area, right? What you see here depends on which page you are in. And what I did was I spelled it out for you, right? I spelled out in a slide. I showed you the interface. Oh, but before we do that, before we even do that, take a look at this. At the top, you click here. This is a slide out panel, right? And in here, you can change this view to the full screen, or here you can do copy and paste. Like see, this is a clipboard tool. So to copy something from your computer, you would have to paste it here first, and I'll show you, we're gonna do it. All right, I promise. But here it is, this is the main interface. Here for the Cognos Analytics. Right now I'm on the home page. In here you see these two sections. This one is my content. Anything that's in my content, it's owned by me. Only I have access to this, no one else does. Right, like as you see here, this is one file that I have. That's a data set that we're gonna work with today. What you could do is, if I have a lot of stuff in here, right, I can run a search here. I can do, for example, like this, weather. It's gonna give me the files I have access to that contain weather, but some of the files are in a team folder, some of them are in my content. But what is team folder? Team content is basically what you have access to. My content, it's yours. Team content is shared files that you have access to. And we have two types of shared files. Some of them were pre-installed with Cognos Analytics, like this folder, calendars, getting started, samples, templates. This folders got pre-installed, right? This folder, data extend data for assignment, that's a folder that I set up for you. And that's where your assignment data sets are found. So when you click on this here, you see the subfolder for each assignment, right? In here, I put the data that I'm using for this walkthrough, because when you watch the recording, if you want to follow along, you have this option, okay? This is, in here, you'll find the data for the first assignment, insurance.csv. And what you will do is, this is a team content folder, right? You don't have a write permission for this folder. What you will need to do to start your assignment is this. For any data set, you're gonna click here. Then you're gonna need to do this copy or move. Copy or move. Then you go to your content, my content, and you're gonna do move to, okay? Move to. But suppose that I'm not paying attention to instructions and I'm sorry, you need to click on copy to. But suppose that Elena is clicking move to instead of copy to. This is what's gonna happen. I got an error. Do you know why I got an error? Because I don't have a write permission for this folder. To move something, it means that I need to delete it, right? I don't have a write permission. So what you will do is this. You're gonna do this, and then you're gonna go to here, copy or move, and you're gonna go to your personal folder, and then you do copy. Notice that when I'm in a team folder, it's grayed out because I don't have permission to write to this folder, right? So you select your folder. Here, my content, this is your area. And you're gonna go to copy to, okay? This is how you're gonna do. And now you go to my content and you're gonna see this data file. This is the data file that you're gonna use for the first assignment, right? So now, what I could also do is I can sort, right? And I can sort the file by name, or I can sort them by modified, right? And then by type. What I mean by type is that there are several file types. There is a data set, data modular, exploration, dashboard, right? And a story. We're gonna discuss it all gradually, right? So, and again, here you could do the search, or you can eliminate what you want to see. For example, if I want to see only dashboards, right? I don't have any dashboards right now. Or if I want to see data, but if nothing is selected, it's going to show me everything. Then in here, suppose that you've been working on it for a long time, you have a lot of files, you can limit if you want to see something you worked on yesterday, right? Modified yesterday or today. See this, like for example, if I do modified today, nothing, right? If I do modified yesterday, nope. See here, past week, past months, and then all. Okay. What you could also do is this, you can create subfolders. You click on new, then you create folder, and then suppose I want to do something like this. Assignment 2, right? And then I can put all of my files for assignment 2 into assignment 2 folder. Okay, so you can do that. And even like here, see this type, I can see just the folder, right? If I select just the data, I don't see the folder anymore, etc. So because when you have a lot of files, it's easier to get yourself organized like this, right? So we talked about the search, we talked about the my content, which is your work, your files. Team content is what's shared with you. You cannot write in here, but the privilege you have for this is called run. And it's run because, well, you can see the contents of all data, you can see the contents of all folders. You can copy the data, and what else you could do is there's some samples in here. You could run it. Like if you wanted to run sample dashboards, you have a privilege to do that. So the permission you have on this is run. Okay, so you can watch. You have access to all the data sets because some of the sample data sets are used in videos. If you want to follow along, you could save the file as a copy to your folder. You cannot edit it, but you can copy it to your content, right? Now, let me see. We have to do it in a right order. So here what I did was I spelled out the sections of the interface. And what you see at the top in here, this is called the switcher menu. So when I have multiple files open, I can click on this arrow and select what I want to navigate to. You don't want to use the browser back and forward buttons. You have to use this, okay? Here is a list of files that you have open. Here you have the list to documentation. One thing that you're not going to be able to do is you won't be able to upload your own data here. And there are multiple reasons. One reason is because when you make an update in Excel and you try to re-upload the file, that's it. All your exploration becomes invalid. You cannot just go in and update, right? But the approach we're going to take is going to be more efficient. When you don't need to restart everything from scratch, you're going to create a data module, and anytime when you want to change the data module, you just close and reopen the visualizations where you used it as a data set. That's it. You don't need to redo it. So with that being said, okay, so here I showed you where the data for your assignment is. Like you have an assignment due on next Tuesday, right? But this is a small assignment. Your big assignment number 2 will be available to you as soon as you submit this small assignment. So again, I'm going to repeat, this is a team content, and it's going to be data for assignments, and that's assignment 2 data. For assignment 2 data, you have to use this housing data, okay? This is for assignment 2. So now let's go back. I showed you where this is. Now here is the data that we're gonna look at for tonight's demo. And basically what we have is customer information and where the customer lives. Then we have a gender, we have the income, etc., right? And then we have the claims data, right? And the goal here is to predict the total claim amount. And also we have the policy effective date We have a number of months since the date when a policy went in effect. We have more individual information such as income, monthly premium, employment status, right? And the goal, of course, is to predict the total claim amount, and you'll see it. So, but the problem is, as you can see here, this is a preview of the data that was uploaded. Do you see that some data is missing? For instance, some rows, like this one here, is missing effective to date, right? And then there are several fields actually that are missing values, right? See that? Some rows missing maybe one value. So to speak, incomplete. We have to have a way to handle it, right? Because some of our methods that we use for analysis, it's hard to tell how they're gonna handle this, right? So now, what you saw is that I uploaded the data set. This is a data set. That's a CSV or Excel file that was uploaded straight from the desktop. And I cannot customize it. So basically, if I now go in here, so in my content, this is the data, I cannot go in and change anything, right? I cannot edit it. I cannot show hide fields, etc. I cannot do anything with it, right? So to work around this, we're going to create a data module. So, all right. So for the data set, you also cannot preview the data directly, right? To create the data set, I uploaded the data, but you could also create the data set by taking a subset of the data module. You could do that too. But with the data module, your work is going to be reproducible, right? I mean, you're not going to be, if I use a data set for my explorations, everywhere, in every exploration workbook that I create, I would have to reapply all filters. I would have to redo them. Is this an efficient way to work? No. We want to customize the data in a single place, right? You want to add your calculations, all your filters in one place. The work must be reusable, all right? And then we can use the same data source with all of these filters. You may use it for many dashboards, for many explorations, and etc. Also, in general, data module may combine multiple data sources. We're not going to do that in this course, but bear this in mind that it can be done. You are able to preview the data directly. This and data sets are both saved in the My Content area. Well, for team content, you'll be doing it on a last assignment, but for right now, you cannot save anything in the team content, just for right now. Now, this is very important. I'm going to create a data module from the data set, but you cannot delete the data set because if that's deleted, your data module is invalid and everything else in the system where you use the data module as a source is invalid and there is no way to fix it. Unfortunately, that's what it is. But remember that I told you, right? I let you know today, so that's a final warning, right? Okay. So this is what we're gonna do right now. We're going to create the data module. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but this is very important. Do not delete, please, please. Okay, now let's go back. And this is our claims and weather data set. Look what I'm gonna do. I'm in my content. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do create data module. And what this will do is, so here, this is my data, right? This is the data structure rather. Here, this is a file that I use to create the data. To preview the data, I need to click here, and this is a grid. So this gives me the data that I just showed you the screenshot of, right? This column here, row ID, and the label is grayed out because this field is hidden from user's view. So if I'm going to use this as a data source for my visualizations, I'm not gonna see this column, right? So here, customer, country, state code, etc., right? Notice over here, null. As you may recall, I showed you that some values are missing, right? Missing values are represented as null. That's how it is in the database as well, okay? Now, very important, see this, it says new data module. I have to save it because if I get disconnected or anything like that, my work is gonna be gone. So let's do save. And I'm going to select, well, for some unknown reason, by default, it's selecting the team folder. You have to select your folder. And you're going to call it, let's say, call it claims and weather data module. Claims and weather data module, right? And pay close attention because this is how you're gonna do assignment 2. You're not asked to create data module for the assignment due next week because that assignment is just to make sure you can access your account and do something, right? Okay, so here, this is how your assignment 2 is gonna look like. So you're gonna save this. This is the data module. You're gonna save it, right? This is important first step. Now, here, what you see is that those are the also column names, and there's a little icon that you see next to a column name depends on the column data type, right? It depends on the column data type. So, usually I don't go with slides, but here I'm going a little bit with slides also because to make sure that everything is covered in the right sequence. Okay, so here what I did was I spelled out what you see. I spelled out the name, the portions, different portions of the interface, right? And another important thing is that as you start making changes, adding filters and etc., I know I told you that you cannot delete anything, but in here, within this data module, you have an option to undo, redo. And I believe you can do it up to 20 changes. You undo, redo up to 20 changes, right? So another thing is you could see the column properties, and I'm gonna get to column properties as well, okay? So, but here I basically spelled out what you can do, what you see, right? I labeled it for you. But now we're gonna look at the column properties. I'm gonna go back here. To see the column properties, look what I'm doing. I'm going to select the field, for example, state, right? And it's also be selected in here. Now what I'll do is I'll click on this ellipsis and I'm gonna open up properties. There are several properties here. This is the editable column name, right? Label as a column name. Here it determines if the column is visible or not. Expression, it's a column from original data source that is being used to populate this. So there is a column called a state in a data in original data set. That's what is shown here. Now remember this is a original data set, right? This is a data set that was used to build this data module. It kind of stores a relationship with it. If I delete the data set, this will be invalid, right? Now what else I have in here? Usage is an attribute. There are different type of usages, okay? When you have attribute, it means it's a property. Usually the field could be such as text field, something like that. If it's a measure, for example, claim amount, it's a measure. It means it's a field that can be summarized, right? And then identifier, it means it's a field that can be used for grouping, right? For grouping data. And I'll show you, like for example, marital status, that's gonna be the identifier because it can be used as indexing or it can be used as grouping data. Like for example, I can see average claim amount for marital status, right? The aggregation is a default summary. So if I want to see the summary, right? For example, if I want to see the average, if I want to see the total, etc., right? Well, in this case, state is a geographical location. For a good reason, it's recognizing the geographical locations, which is good, right? Here, comment, you can optionally add the field description. It's not going to be visible anywhere else outside this data module, but the screen tip, you can add the field description. So then when you go to the your visualization, if you hover over the field, you're going to see this description displayed in the tooltip. And you can also define the sorting on the column. All right. So there it is. I went over this. Now, data preparation. The whole idea is here that you can add filters. You can hide certain columns from the user view. You can edit the properties, right? Then I showed you the missing values. We have to handle them. And there are multiple ways to handle them. For example, like the rows I showed you, you want to just get rid of the rows that meet certain conditions. For example, in this example, I'll be eliminating the rows if effective date is unknown, so we don't know when the insurance policy was effective. You can do imputations. For instance, you can say, okay, let's set if income perhaps is unavailable, let's set it to the column average, right? So then if you have a column where most of the values are missing, sometimes you may decide, okay, let's just go ahead and hide it. Or you can set it, you can treat missing values as a separate category. If it's a categorical variable, right? For example, the gender is not specified, you can just put unknown, something like that, right? Then you would probably want to handle the extremely large, extremely small values. You want to add calculations, and they're different. There could be basic calculations like the sums, etc. It could be the field concatenations, or it could be some advanced calculations that you defined in the editor, and you can do data groups and navigation paths, right? I'm going to show you. The idea is to show as much as we can here. So you may hide the columns from the view, and the way you would do it is this. You're gonna right click, right? And you're gonna do you can do it both. You can select hide from users here. This is what I showed you. But you could also do this in the properties. You can click and unclick. There is more than one way to do the same thing, okay? And over here, you can also click on a column title here and do this. See this? There's multiple ways to do it. Sometimes it matters where you do it, and I'll show you. Sometimes it matters. So there we go. So I showed you how to hide the column. Now we're going to talk about adding filters. We use the expression editor to define the filters, but the filter could be defined at the column label, or the filter could be defined at the whole table level, right? Because, for example, I can say, okay, if the row meets certain condition, I want to remove it, right? There are two types of filters here, embedded filters and selectable. Embedded filter is defined in the data module and it applied immediately. You don't have an option to turn it on and off. Okay? It just applied and the rows filtered out immediately. Selectable filter is basically you defined it in the data module, but you may apply them as needed. The filter is not applied right away. You may turn it on and off in the visualization just by dragging and dropping. And I'll show you, we're gonna create now an example of which. So to get started, we're gonna create the embedded filter and we're going to exclude the rows without effective to date. So what I did was I typed the expressions here, but they're typed on my computer, right? Well, I'll show you multiple ways to do it. Let's go back. Remember, I told you I cannot copy and paste, right? So let's do this. Now I'm gonna go in here and I have to click right here and I'm gonna click on manage filters. Notice that I'm defining a filter. See, I want to select the filter. I want to define the filter that is embedded, right? So there's multiple ways to do it, but I want to make sure that it's embedded. So I have to do this. See this filters? Now I can do select a column and then via expression editor. Oh, wait a minute. That's not gonna do what I want, right? That's not gonna do what I want. So let's see. Okay, so what you need to do is this. You need to click on manage filters, right? And then here it's gonna show add the filter. You need to select via expression editor. So I was on the right path. Look at this. You're gonna go here, manage filters, and then you're gonna do this via expression editor. This is very important. You have to select via expression editor. Now you're gonna go add filter. Then here Well, what you need to do is you can define the filter name, but you want to make sure that the filter name that you put is very descriptive, because if it's not, then later on you're not going to remember what it's doing, right? So I'm going to say must have effective date. I'm going to call my filter as this, must have effective date, okay? And this is what I'm going to do. Well, the idea here, I want to keep the row only if the effective date is available, right? So it's going to be this. This is how I can do it. See, this is a list of fields in my data set. I can go ahead and I can drag and drop. See this, I drag and drop the field in here, right? Now the condition is not missing. But see this over here, these are my operators. This and is not missing is one of the operators. So I need to find it, it's in here. Is not missing. So basically, what I want to do is that I want to select the rows only if the effective date is not missing. Effective to date is not missing, right? So that's what it is. If I'm not sure about my syntax, I can click on here. So that's validate. It says the expression is valid, right? But if you notice that earlier I showed you that I had some rows with missing values, didn't I? So now let's see what's gonna happen. I need to save it. So let me minimize. Sometimes you have to play with the zoom buttons. You see this, you have to click on OK, because if you don't click OK, then it's not gonna save the filter. I'm gonna click OK. See, let's see what's happening now. Wait, okay. Now take a look. Where are those rows with the effective date blank? They're gone, right? Because what I did was I just created the embedded filter, which is applied immediately. I have no choice. I cannot turn it on and off. It just applied, okay? And it will also be applied to every visualization where I use this data set as a source. This filter will be applied. So we did that, right? Effective to date is not missing. This is the operator. Missing means blank, right? Or not missing, it's available. That's what I did. So now what I'm gonna do is this. I can create filter. I want to create a filter to extract the rows where policy type contains the word personal. So the idea is I want to select the personal coverage, personal insurance coverage for small vehicles, right? So suppose that all of my visualizations are going to be looking at this data that meets this condition. The coverage type is personal and the vehicle size is small, right? One way would be to do in every single exploration, every single dashboard, I create this filter, it's a lot of work. I want my work to be reusable, right? So what I'll do here, I'm going to define the selectable filter. It's a filter that I can turn on and off, right? To do that, look, I don't select manage filter. I have to select filter. How you define it is very important. So a few times I got myself confused, and that's what's going to happen when you start this. Because see, manage filters, it's going to be the embedded filter. Over here, filter, it's going to be the selectable filter. Here, very important, I need to have a descriptive name, and I'll show you why. This is personal coverage for small vehicle. Because when you create this filter, later on, when you use this data module as a source to create a visualizations, what you'll see is that you'll see the filter name, okay? But you're not gonna see how that filter is defined. You would have to go back to data module to see the definition, but going back and forth is inefficient, right? So what we want to do is we want to name it in a way that we recognize it, right? Here we're gonna use the expression editor again. You can do what I just did, drag and drop, but let me do it differently instead. Before this, I practiced this on my admin account, right? And what I did was I copied, I saved this, right? Basically, what I need to do is this. The filter should say if policy type contains personal and vehicle size contains small. I already created this definition and I want to copy it. But wait a minute, if I do this, I cannot do this. It's not gonna work. Nope, that's not it. Oh, it worked. But in theory, depending on the browser, it should not have worked. Look what you have to do. Oh, maybe, coincidentally, it was in a buffer. Coincidentally, it may have been the last thing that I copied. But in general, what you're gonna do. To copy something from your PC, right, that file is on my PC, into this on a remote computer, you have to do this. You click here, this is a clipboard. You're gonna paste it in a clipboard, right, like you usually paste. And then you're gonna go back in here and paste. So there is an extra step, okay? So what I'm doing in here, policy type, all right? Policy type is one of the fields. Contains is one of the operator, and you have a bunch of operators here. You have some functions for the strings where you can take a substring, you can concatenate fields, etc. Okay? So I just took this, okay? Now here, I have to keep in mind that this is case sensitive because we're looking at the values, right? In theory, I would probably want to convert to uppercase and do the case comparison, but I did not do it for this example. So here, look, there are two conditions, right? I used and. So both of these must be true for the data to be selected. What I'll do now is I'm going to click OK. I have to save it. But what's going to happen right now is that this filter is not going to be applied right away. This is a filter that I can turn on and off when I build visualization. Let's edit here. It looks like it's a column, but it's not, okay? It's going to be added in here. Oh, you see the funnel? It means it's a filter, okay? And on the other hand, if I do this, and if I go to manage filters, this is going to show embedded filters, okay? It's not going to show the filters that I do for the selectable. This is the one you can turn on and off. And the embedded one, it's applied immediately, okay? So, well, just remember this because you're gonna need it for the assignment too, okay? So, this is, now what we're gonna do is this. Do you remember that we have a couple variables in here? We have an income where some fields are missing it, right? Some fields are missing income. So what I want to do is this. I want to check if the income is missing. If it is, then I'm going to do the average. Otherwise, I want to keep it as is, right? So this is the expression. And you're going to have this, right? You're going to have the slides after this. So remember that we looked at the properties, right? And I showed you one of the properties is expression. So this is my income. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to click on the properties, right? In here, I click on view and edit. For right now, what it's doing is that it's taking income field from the original data set, right? So here it is. It's taking, that's a data set that I used to create the data module. It's taking income field as is. Now I want to change it. I click on view or edit. And what I want to do is I want to take the average, column average, if the income is missing, right? So I copied the expression. Let's see what happens if I do copy and paste. Ooh, it let me. Oh yeah, it must be a change. Usually you have to use the keyboard to copy and paste. But don't tell anybody that it's working because they're gonna turn it off for security reason. Please don't tell anybody that it's working like this. Okay, so if income is missing, then I want to take average income. Else, I want to take the income as is. And in case you might not know the syntax, it's in here. All of this, it's in a construct. Yes, so you have the case statement, you have ifs and else, etc. Okay, so this is an example what you do. Now I need to make sure that this is saved. I'm gonna click OK, and it's not quite saved yet because see this, if you see this little asterisk next to data module name, then you have to save it. But wait a minute, I made an error somewhere. Let me see, let me validate. Somewhere there is an error. Yes, well, because the problem here is that copy paste. I copy paste something wrong. Okay, so let me see. It's a copy paste. Sometimes when you copy something, you miss things. Oh, else income. I need to delete this. I see what's going on. Because I had the word income twice. I should have deleted the old income, the old value and put this, okay? Now, what I do is I click on this and you want to make sure that expression is valid. Before, remember that I had an error in red. It's because my expression, the syntax was wrong. Just if, then else. What I had another word income in there. That was causing the trouble. So this is good, right? And this is, you can do the preview. Sometimes when something is really complex, right? You can preview the first few values. Okay, so now I'm going to do, scroll down and I'm gonna click on OK. Come on, okay. And now I'm gonna save it, but see, if you see this little asterisk next to the file name, it means that your change was not saved. I'm gonna click on save now. Okay, this is saved. What I was talking about earlier is this. You see that you have undo, redo, and I believe the maximum is 20. You can undo and redo up to 20 last changes. Okay, so we're gonna come back here. We went through this. Now we're gonna do, yes, so now we're gonna create an exploration from the data module. That's what we're gonna do next, okay? What you need to do is, first of all, you saved it. Now we're gonna close it. To close this, you do here. Notice that, see this, I have a welcome screen, right? And I have this, this is a file that is open. All files that are open are gonna be listed here. I can close it here, but I have to save the changes first. I did, right? Now what I'll do, look at this, my content. Okay, so this is the data module that I just created. I'm going to click here and I'm going to do the create exploration. Now, a few things are going to happen behind the scene here. Well, first of all, in here, come on, it's a little bit misbehaving. Okay, it's loading. Now, what I see in here is that similar to what you saw in the data module, there are a list of column names, and the icon next to the column name indicates the column data type. This is a filter that we just defined. If you want to look at the personal coverage for the small vehicle, I notice this. When I click in here, when I want to check the properties, I do not know how this was defined. No way. I can only, well, I can't even change the label. I don't know, but to find out how it was defined, I would have to go back and reopen my data module, right? It's a lot of work. So basically, you want to try to make the name as descriptive as possible, okay? You want to make it as descriptive as possible. So now, what else is going on here is a list of all of the fields, right? So this is a data module that I'm using, right? Claims and weather data module. And again, in turn, this is a data source over here that was used to build the data module. And similarly to what we did earlier, I can click here and I can see the properties, right? Attribute, usage, this is the aggregation, and etc., right? Any properties that I change in here, it won't be available anywhere else. It will only be available in this exploration file. So if I want to define something that I want to be reusable everywhere else, I have to create it in a data module, okay? Now, what else do I see in here? Well, okay, today it's a little bit not, oh, I have to adjust the zoom here. Let's adjust the zoom. So what you see now, oh, I don't know what it's doing. Anyhow, what you see in here right now is that this is called the relationship diagram in your data. When at the time when the original file claims and weather was uploaded into the system, Cognos Analytics did some analysis and it found some correlations between variables that are in that data. You see a little bubble for each variable in the data set, right? For almost all, let's say. And the one that is dark blue, this is a target. So target is what you want to predict. In the region, somewhere you might see it as a dependent variable, right? Those are used interchangeably. The target variable. In here, this is a potential list of what you could select to predict. For instance, total claim amount, or you could predict somebody's monthly premium, right? But this one is selected by default, total claim amount. So see here, this is your dependent variable, and here are independent. So if you see the connecting line, it means that there is some type of correlation between, for instance, employment status and the total claim amount. And the line thickness indicates the strength of the relationship. So what you could do, if you hover over the line, you can see the actual strength, okay? And I believe it only shows if the strength is above certain threshold, okay? And when you select another target, it's gonna redraw, it's gonna rebuild the diagram for you, okay? But we're gonna stick with total claim amount. And another thing is this, when I selected this here, Cognos Analytics is gonna try to generate the set of starting points for me. So this is what's called the initial questions. We call it initial questions in the assignment, right? So that's basically one of these. So you want to analyze some of these, right? Now, what you could also, it depends on what you select, right? When you select the connecting line, well, you can't, right? But depends on which bubble you select here, it's gonna give you a set of exploration, set of visualizations that you may want to build, right? So remember this, here's the data. This is a diagram, relationship diagram, right? It identifies which variables might be correlated to the target. In this case, it's total claim amount. Your assignment 2 is probably going to be the price, because the data set is going to be, the purpose will be to predict the house value, right? But in this case, we're looking at the total claim amount, right? And here is just showing me the suggested visualizations depending on what I select. When I select total claim, it probably says, okay, you probably want to look at the driver analysis and we'll discuss this, or probably you want to look at the status, right? Total claim, and this is the area status, right? The location. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We talked about, this is how to create new exploration. Oh, and that's an exploration interface. I'll show you that. So basically, the exploration workbook consists of the set of cards. A card is a visualization. And there are several ways to add cards to the exploration workbook. One way is that you'll be asked to just take the suggested visualization. When I click here, it's gonna add the card to my workbook, right? So this is a card. I can just select this while double clicking, and it's gonna be displayed in this work area. So this is what I'm currently looking at. And over here, I see the insight in a natural language, all right? So it says the total claim amount for all values is this, but wait a minute, something is wrong. Why am I looking at the sum of all claims amount? I'm rather interested about an average, right? what you could do is you could go here and change the properties. So this is a total claim amount, but there is a little issue in here is this. I'm gonna change the property here, right? I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna change the average. The problem is this change will apply only to this exploration workbook. If I was going to create another workbook, this change won't be applied because I'm not creating it, I'm not defining it in the data module, okay? But for right now, I just did it here. So let's save it. And I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna save it file over here. I'm gonna go save it. And I'm gonna do this claims and weather exploration. Okay, exploration. Okay, I'm gonna do now save, but wait a minute, why is it grayed out? Do you know why? Because I have this team selected. I need to select my personal area. This is where I'm allowed to save the data, the files for right now. Okay, so now this asterisk is gone. It means that the file is saved. What else do you see in here? Data slots. So basically, in the data slots, you specify which fields are being visualized. Here, it did it for me automatically because I just used the visualization that was suggested to me. Here, basically, see this in here, each space here, it's called the slot. And if you see this asterisk, it means that the field is required. Like for example, the total length of this bar is a average total claim amount. This is required. If I don't specify this, I cannot see the plot, right? Bars, basically here, I want each bar to be the employment status, right? And I can go on and specify more. Like for example, do you remember earlier, we defined the filter for the personal claim, right? Sometimes I want to look at the personal claim type, right? Personal policy for the small vehicle, right? Some personal coverage for the small vehicle. Look what I need to do in here. Instead of defining the filter over and over again, like I go this, and you have to drag and drop, you make sure that local filters is highlighted and you release. So here, this filter is applied. I defined the filter earlier, and this is a selectable filter. I can just drag and drop and apply where I need to. This is efficient way to work on your homework because you don't need to go back and redefine it here in each visualization, right? Well, you're not asked to do it on an assignment due next week because basically that assignment is just to show professors that you are able to access your account and do something, okay? It's just, so to speak, to get yourself familiar with application. But this is how you want to do in the remaining assignment. You want to define it in the data module, right? And now we're gonna save this. So see this filter, I applied it to the single visualization. One thing that you noticed here is that I cannot change the fonts and I cannot change the colors in here because this is just an exploration, right? This is not something that I'm going to present, right? So keep in mind, you cannot change the fonts in here, right? Later on, in the next session, we're gonna discuss the data presentation. That's when you'll be playing around with visualization properties. Here, it just, the goal is to explore data. Now, so here it is. This is what I'm looking at. The data I'm currently looking at, and details give me some information, right? You're not gonna copy this. Trust me, you're not gonna copy this, but you want to read through. When I click here, this is showing me the data that it's supposed to show me the data that's being visualized. Well, it's taking a little bit of time to load. Well, it could be because sometimes it depends on the internet connection, or it also depends multiple things, okay? Load balancing on VDA, etc. So this is claims and weather. This is the whole data module. And here I would usually see the visualized data. And the nice thing about it that in your assignment, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can take visualization, whatever works for you. Oops. Well, I'm trying to fight with this browser thing. Not sure what's going on. Anyhow, okay, well, I have not seen this before. So let's do, oh, notice this also. You can, this is resizable. You can adjust all of these frames here. Then you can close it like this, right? And you can close this. Just to, sometimes you need to take a better picture visualization, so to speak. Now, see this, I produce this visualization. And in here, if I go here, this is a set of cards that I have, right? Right now I have one. What I could also do is, depending on what I'm looking at right now, Cognos Analytics might decide what else I might be interested in. So if I click here, those are the related visualizations. Related could be perhaps another field thrown into it or something. Like, for example, I can look at total claim amount by marital status. And to do that, I just click on this plus sign, and it's going to add a new card in here. See this here, but, well, apparently it thinks that I want to have the same filter applied to it, but I could unfilter, and to unfilter this, I click here. This opened up the properties. I can go to the data slots, and I can do, to unfilter, I have to click on this and just do remove filter. See this? Remove filter. This is how I unfilter it. That's one way, right? Or I could have clicked on a funnel and select remove filter too. There was a funnel here that indicated the data was filtered. Now, I can click in here. Well, in here, I can choose which insights I want to see, right? In this case, it's not, it's grayed out. Oh, look at this. This is a visualized data in here. I have an option to take this. See, what it's showing is this. It's showing the marital status and the average claim amount per marital status. So this is a data that corresponds to this visualization, okay? And here, this is all data. I can preview the data here. But I cannot define any filters in here. I have to go back to data module, right? So this is another way how to create visualization. Right now, I might be going in slightly different orders in the slides. And here an example is different. But to add new visualizations, I have multiple ways to do it. I can do this. See this when I click on new, and I can select a new card that would add a new visualization. And I can do this from scratch. I can do choose type. And then I can select perhaps the anything like bar chart, pie chart, anything that you like. Like I'm gonna do the bar chart right now. And well, if you remember this, you can click here the data slots. So for the data slots, you must specify something, right? You need to specify the links. This is required. So perhaps I want to do the income right now. Ooh. See, sometimes you have to be patient. Look, I highlighted this, right? Well, what is it doing? Now it is showing me the total income. It added up all of the values. That's not what I want. I want probably, let's look at the state perhaps. I'm gonna, each bar, I want it to be the state. Oops. See, when I try to drag and drop, I did not highlight the slot. The slot has to be highlighted. When I put my mouse over, so see this, it's listing the states right now, and it's showing me the income, average income by state, right? And I didn't define any filter for right now. And when you click here, it's just gonna give me more insight. See this? Well, it's showing me this, look, it's showing me that employee status and total claim amount are correlated. And what I could do is this, I can click on this and it would add the key driver analysis. Do you see that? I can click on it, and it's gonna give me another visualization, okay? It's showing me another visualization, okay? And we're gonna get to key driver analysis shortly. But whenever you see that green bubble, you can click on it, and it's gonna build another visualization. The green bubble suggests that there is a correlation between what you're looking at. In my case, I was looking at the income rate. So how do we go back? You might be wondering, I'm not gonna hit the back button. I'm gonna go back in here. And I was looking at this, right? Okay, and this is a visualized data, okay? I did not like that it was showing the income sum. I want to see the average. I can go in here and change it here. Or if I want the change to be applicable only to this visualization, I can click here and I can do this summarize, and I can do the average, okay? Well, if I do it what I just did, that is applicable only to this visualization. It doesn't apply to all visualization in this exploration file, okay? I'm gonna go save. Now what I can do is this. I can click on the new visualization and I can take any fields that I want and I can just drag and drop. Like for instance, claim amount. I'm gonna go do this, drag and drop. And what this is gonna do, well, it's gonna do this is a total, right? When I drag and drop the field, it's gonna attempt to see what visualization I want to see, right? And I think if you drag and drop twice, well, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work for this variable well. So let's do this. I'm gonna delete this, right? I did something that I didn't intend to do. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna delete this card. I'm gonna create new single card, and this is what I'm gonna do. Let me try to do the coverage. I can do this. I can drag and drop. Okay, I drag and drop. Here what it did, it just lists me the coverage type, right? And if I drag and drop again, I'm supposed to see the distribution. So basically, if I take the same categorical field and if I drag and drop it here to the card twice, it's gonna show me the frequency count. So for categorical field to see the frequency count, you can drag and drop in here twice, and that will do it, okay? This is a question that a lot of students ask, so I decided to just throw it in here, okay? Now, what else you could do is this. There is a little friend in here that you will like. Trust me, you will like it. You go in here. Well, you can do, when you type show data, it's going to show you which data sets you have access to. Show data. In this case, I want to look at this data module. I'm going to click in here, and this is running the command for me. So I can type this, show source, and then I type the name of this data module. What this will do is it's going to list the variable names, the field names in my data, and it's going to specify here which field has outliers, which field has a high values repetition, and then it's going to show the if it's a data type, right? What I could do further is I can click on a field here to see the field more properties for that field. So I click on this claim amount. It shows me the usage is measured. Measure means that it's a field that can be summarized, right? Default is sum. Well, because I did not change it here, data type is a double, and here it shows me that it's a continuous and it has some outliers, etc., right? Now in here, those are the fields that could be related to these fields I'm looking at, right? So what I could do further, I can click on this, and this will show me the visualization. See this? It's going to show me the visualization, and I can scroll through here to see different visualization types. Like in this case, this is a table. So what I could do is this now, new. I can add new card, and I can take this visualization and drag and drop on top of the card. This is another way to create visualization. Okay? Now in here, I can go further. I can do show related visualization, and then I can steal something from here. I can go in a new card, and I can just drag and drop the way I did. There we go. Behind the scene, it's running these commands for me. So what you could do to rerun this command, you can just click here. Okay? Click here and click enter. It will rerun the past command. Very important here. One reason you don't want to use the browser refresh and going back and forth, because you're gonna lose everything that you typed in here, right? Sometimes you want to reuse the commands. So, but when you click here, it's gonna reset. This is gonna reset what you just did. It's not going to delete the card that I just added, just keep that in mind. We're gonna go ahead and save it now. And I'm gonna go back here. So basically, well, I'm just showing you those are the starting points, right, that we had, and how I clicked on this relationship diagram, and I could take any of these visualizations, and I can see related visualization, right? So this part, I just showed a little bit in a different order, but basically I showed you all. We just went over this assistant here, right? And I can do this. See this, I could explicitly type this command and it would show me the fields in the file, right? I'm just, basically what I did here, I spelled it out for you, right? Okay, and then here, this is a list of related fields. You can click on a field and get visualization. So this is really helpful, because sometimes when you just open the data, you might be not sure how to look at it, right? You might not be sure what to do, and it kind of shows you what to do. See this? It gives you a set of visualizations to scroll through, and then you pick something and you can edit. That's one way, right? So before we do, okay, here we can take several options here. We can do the navigation path, or we can do the decision trees. Let's look at the spiral diagram drivers first, and then we're gonna look at the drill through navigation. Okay, so what you're gonna do right now, and you're gonna do it as part of this week assignment too. You're gonna look at the choose type, and I'm going to select the spiral diagram. It's under the analysis page. Oops, it's in the advanced analysis here, and I'm gonna look at this one, the spiral. Ooh, the spiral here. This is what I'm gonna look at now. Basically, I need to also specify the target. And in my example, I'm gonna be looking at the total claims amount, right? This is a target. Target is what I'm trying to predict, right? And when you remember when I started, it showed that suggested target is a total claim amount. So I'm going to hover. Okay. So over here, what I see is that this is showing me a set of drivers. A driver is a combination of fields that are predicting, that are used as a predictor for the field, right? Trying to maximize this. Okay. So basically, it could be a combination of field. Like, for example, here, vehicle class, employment status, marital status together could be a predictor of the total claim amount, and this is a predictive strength, right? The closer we are to the core, the stronger is the predictor. And in here, if it's in red, it means it's a single field. Blue means two fields, and this one, the green, means multiple fields. And you can, well, when you hover, it lists the predictive strengths and fields. Also, the predictive strength must be at least 10%. Then it's going to show in here. Okay. What you could also do is this. Notice that you have total claims amount and claims amount. Probably you want to exclude claims amount from the drivers. You'll be asked in assignment 3 to do this. You can do edit drivers, right? And you can exclude. You want Cognos to not use some of your fields as part of the predictors. I'm going to exclude the claims amount, and also I want to exclude this. I know that it's not being used, but in general, if it was used here, I would probably exclude the country looks like it's not using. And the reason is because all my data is in the same country. This is a subset, probably it's a subset sample of the large data set. And in here, we are focusing on a single country, US, right? So if it was using it, I would probably want to get rid of it, okay? So here we go. Right now, I just remove the claims amount and I'm gonna click OK. But if it's a predictor that you do not see, you could do this. You can type in and do the search, okay? Country, and I know that it's in there, but you can do the search if you don't see it, okay? So now let me just click OK for right now, and this is going to refresh, okay? All right, and what I'll do is now I'll save. So this is how you control which drivers you want to see, which drivers you don't want to see. Now, look at this. When I click here, well, there is no way to see what actual details are, right? There is no way to see the details. But in order to see the details, I have to use a different visualization type, and this is called the driver analysis. So basically, you can look at it as this spiral diagram in here sliced. Let's do this. I'm gonna do the new, or I could actually do related. Let's see if it's gonna give me the driver analysis. No, it's not, right? I can click on see more. It's not, right? Okay, well, it did not. So let's do this. I'm gonna do new, and then in here, I'm gonna go choose type, and I'm going to, this time, I'm gonna do the driver analysis. And you have to do this on your assignment 3, right? Well, I realize that we still have a long way to go before assignment 3, but trust me, you will have to. You must watch this recording more than once, because it's a lot of information to absorb. Okay, so total claim amount is a target, right? I'm gonna do that again. What is it gonna do now? Just to see better, I'm gonna click this and I'm gonna close this. What it's doing in here, each bubble is a predictor, right? Each little dot or bubble. It's similar to what you saw earlier, right? But in here, this goes on a scale between 0 and 100. And the closer this bubble is to the right, the stronger is the predictive strength, okay? The stronger is the predictive strength. And in here, what I could do is I could select my, here, like for example, I click on this, and this is a 2 driver. I'm looking at the employment status, right? As a predictor, this is a single driver, sorry. The blue means single, and I'm looking at the employee status, how employee status predicts the total claim amount, right? This is what I'm looking at. This is a separate visualization. And what I wanted to, I could add this as a card. If I wanted to, I could edit as a card and then edit it as one of the visualization in here. I could select a different one, and the bubble size, it represents, it's proportional to the number of data rows that it applies to. It's proportional to the number of data rows. Okay, so here, well, let's hover, and this is talking about the vehicle class and the coverage. And the color code stands for the total claim amount. So if I have two, if I'm looking at the 2 predictors, 2 drivers, I'm probably going to see this heat map diagram. And if I'm looking at the 3 or more, well, this is going to be a decision tree. I can create the decision tree diagram separately, right? You saw it as a visualization. Or I can also click here and I'm going to add this decision tree card, right? There's 2 ways, multiple ways to do it. I can just click here and it's going to add the new card, right? Well, so see this is driver analysis. And I can hover and I can see the predictive strengths, see this, etc. Now, also here I can toggle, I can see, I believe I can uncheck. Nope, I cannot, okay. Never mind, because I thought I can uncheck. Okay, now let's go to the decision tree. here it is, right? It's a decision tree. And what it's doing is, well, it's trying to show the set of decision rules that determine the average total claim amount. And this is how you read the tree. First of all, you have to zoom in because this is very hard to read, right? I'm going to zoom in, and to zoom in, you can collapse the nodes. See, I'm clicking on the node to collapse it. And I'm gonna click again to collapse it. So, well, the way you read the tree is you start from the root node, and the root node here, it's making a split on the vehicle class. Depending on the vehicle class determines how I traverse this tree. Like, for example, if it's a luxury SUV, I'm gonna take this path, right? And here it says that for all data rows that take this path, right? This is the average claim amount, and it also gives me how many observations it applies to and the percentage that it applies to, right? So the darker the color code, the higher is the total claim amount. Now what I can do is this. I click on this and I'm expanding this branch. I'm gonna look at the employee status next, right? If it's employed, I take one pass, and if it's unemployed, I take another pass, right? It's gonna be this here. And then next one, I'm gonna look at the coverage. And based on the coverage, this is a pass I take, right? And the color code is proportional to the total claim. So basically what you do is you start from the top and you traverse the tree until you reach this is called terminal node, or it's also called the leaf node in the literature, right? So basically, for your assignment, you would have to take the screenshot of the tree, but I'm gonna tell you up front, you cannot take the whole tree. Well, what you have to do instead is that you take a branch of the tree that you're discussing in the paper. That's all you do, okay? Sounds fair? Now, what else you could look at? Here are the rules in natural language. So basically, I can say this. If my vehicle class is this, and this is an employment status, right? An effective to date, so those are the conditions, right? If the car meets this condition, then this is the average total claim amount that it's gonna be. Basically, this is a way of describing it in a natural language. And here it tells me that I have 78 records to which it applies, and this is a percentage. Here, I can filter, I can not filter, but I can sort it by predictive strengths, right? I want to look at the lowest claim amount, perhaps, right? And this is a number of rows that the rule applies to. This is another way, the sunburst. So basically, you could sort of kind of like drill down. So you can fix your data, perhaps to this condition. See, this monthly out is greater than 94. And then you can see the average claim amount given this condition. See this? You can further drill down by employee type. See this? The outer layers are removed. So I'm looking at employee status is employed, and total claim amount is whatever I selected, right? This is total claim amount for employee status employed. I can do further, right? The idea is I can drill down. I can use this to drill down and see how my averages change, okay? So all of this is also on the slides, but another thing that I need to show you is this. See this, you can change the properties, right? Data slots, and the data slots, and here it shows that target is total claim amount. And in here, I can do this. I can edit drivers. Well, you have to pay attention because in your assignment 3, you're going to be asked to build multiple modules. And the way you could do this is you could probably eliminate some of the predictors. It's going to be your second model. Or you can apply some calculations per se, okay? So this is what you will do. You can uncheck, like for example, I can do something nasty here. I can uncheck the vehicle class. Well, probably you don't want to do it, but in general, you can uncheck or you can uncheck the marital status in here. And then you're gonna see if the predicted strength of your model improves or does not improve, right? Oh, Jesus, I can do this and do this, okay, and it's gonna refresh for me, right? Okay, so this is gonna be a different model. Now, suppose that I did something I did not want to do. Remember this, I can do up to the last 20 changes, okay? All right, now, oh, look at this, you can also scroll. You can also scroll to see a portion of the tree. Right, I'm gonna save this, okay? Now let's go back to the slides because there are a few more things that I need to show you. Navigation path is a nice thing that allows you to navigate. So sometimes some data is hierarchical. Like for example, you have a state and within a state you could have location code, right? Or in your real life example, perhaps I wanted to be looking at the average assignment grade, and I can do that by data 610. Then I can drill down by session within data 610, right? That's an example of the hierarchy. But in here, look at this, I can be looking at the location code within the state. And I want to be able to drill down in my visualizations like this. To see this here, I'm looking at the visualization by code, by the state code. And in here, I want to be able to select the, here, I want to be able to select the location code, right? Or I want to be able to select the state rather. See this, I'm selecting the Iowa state, and then I'm looking at the location within the state, right? So here is the data by state. I've got 4 states, and then I can look at specific state and I can drill down to see within location in that state. So to do that, you have to create a hierarchy. And the way you do it, well, for right now, I'm going to create it here. I'm going to do the navigation path. Remember this, because I'm creating it in this exploration, this will not be available outside of this, okay? So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna do something like location hierarchy. This is a location hierarchy. And then I'm gonna select fields that I want to use as part of this. It's gonna be the state, and then it's also gonna be the location code, right? And guys, please remember this. You have to watch it more than once because it's a lot of concepts. You see this is a location code, right? See the state and location code. Now what I'll do is this. I have to save this. So if I click on the X, it's not going to save it. So this is the hard part because I have to play around with the zoom. It might be something I'm missing here, but okay. I'm going to scroll down and click on OK because I want this to be saved and I want to use this in my visualization. Well, today it's not behaving. But well, you need to remember that this is not your computer. This is a remote location. Okay, you cannot save the files on a disk explicitly. Okay, but this one, what I'm saving here, is on my folder in the Cognos Analytics. This is fine. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now, this is a location hierarchy. I'm gonna do the new visualization, brand new visualization, and I can, in fact, well, no, I cannot drag and drop, but what I'll do is this. I'm gonna do, okay, so this is new visualization. I can do this. I can select, I can click in here to choose type, and perhaps I can do this, well, I can just do anything. I can select the tree map or I can select the pie chart, anything. But just for fun, let's do this. Let me close this. And let's just drag and drop and see what it happens. Jesus, I go state and I'm gonna drag and drop. Let's see what happens. I think it's gonna do the data map by default because it knows that I'm looking at the location, right? So, but the problem is it just picked up location, but it did not pick up anything else, right? it just picked up that I'm looking at the region. Well, what I could do in here is that I could do the color code, and the color code is going to be based on the total claim amount, right? So where is that? Total claim amount, right? There we go. And I'm going to go this thing, color. So the darker the color, the higher the average total claim amount. So now what I could do is this. Look at this. I selected this area, and I have it allows me to drill down. See this? It's going to show me, well, unfortunately, it's not a good example because this is not a geographical location, right? The area code that I did is not a geographical location. So what I could do is I could click here and I can choose a different visualization type, right? I can choose perhaps, let's see what happens if I choose this. Ooh, what happened? Well, I can choose a different visualization type. Perhaps oops, it's not letting me. What happening? Oh, ouch. Okay, because what I have to do is this. Let's see, let me do this. Let me see this. If I do this, this is how to go back. This is drill back up. So this is working, right? I could not do anything because the visualization that I was showing you initially, it had errors. And even now it does not let me do this. So I can unfilter it because it was selecting a specific state. That's why. So I should be able to change visualization type. It does not let me now. But the whole idea here is this. I should be able to drill down. So let's do this new, single, choose visualization. And now I'm gonna do this, I can select the bar plot. And now I can just do this. For the lanes, I'm gonna do this claim amount. Total claim amount, monthly, total claim amount. I can do this is lanes, and then for the bars, I'm gonna do the state, right? This is total claim amount, come on. And then I'm gonna go back into my navigation, and I'm gonna do this here, like this. See this? It's gonna show me the bar plot, see this? And then I can go in and I can click on this. I selected Iowa, and I can go in and I can drill down the Iowa. I can see the breakdown within the Iowa. That's the whole idea. You can have multiple levels, okay? But because I created it in this exploration workbook, this won't be available anywhere else where I use this data. I had to create it in the data module, okay? So we got this now. Oh, this is a drill down. I showed you this. Now, this is the calculation. Calculation is nothing but an expression, right? So you can do, so let's do this. Let's close this out, right? Let's close this. If I want to create a calculation that is available for all visualizations that I create from this data, I have to create it in a data module, right? What you see here, this is a recently accessed objects, and I'm gonna click here in the data module, and I'm going to do, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to create a calculation. So I'm gonna do this, and I can do right click here, and I'm gonna do calculation, and in calculation, I can define the calculation name, like for example, I can do something like income. I'm gonna drag and drop in here, and let me name it as let's say increased income. And what I'll do is I'm gonna add 1,000 to everybody's income. Oops, I have to do it here. See this? Plus 1,000. Well, this is, I just did it for fun, okay? Then I'm going to click OK. So this is gonna add a new column in here. When I do the calculation, it's gonna add a new column. This is the increased income. That's a new column, and it's going to be available in data module. To make it available in data module, I'm sorry, in the exploration, I would have to reopen the exploration, okay? Now, we did that. The next thing, well, it's a lot of material here. Next thing is a data group, right? I think, yes. So basically, what is data group is nothing but binning. Sometimes I'm looking at I have a numeric variable and I want to look at it in terms of the categories, right? Like for example, if you saw it, you have the variable called the number of claims, right? Okay. Number of policies, I'm sorry. The column is number of policies that somebody has. And right now it's just a number, right? But if you notice, if you look at the distribution, you're gonna see that it's skewed. So what I want to do is this. I want to look at this less than 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 5, or 6 to 8, or 8 more or above, right? I want to look at this. I want to look at the categories. So what you can do is this here. You can find this column. You can find this column in here. You can right click on this, and then you select create a data group, create data group, okay? Now, this variable is numeric. If the variable is numeric, it's gonna create the groups for you, okay? It's gonna create the groups for you. The default number is 5. This is a default name, but you can edit the name. You can always edit the ranges, but in this case, let's keep it as default, but it's gonna try to, if it's a numeric, it's gonna create the ranges for you, okay? So I'm gonna click on create and let's see what it's gonna do. It's gonna add 2 columns. One column is gonna be the new value, right? Which is gonna tell where this thing falls under, and this is a bin number. Well, see this, it's gonna add 2 fields here. One field is gonna be the actual, the actual new value, right? New value, and also the bin number. I think what I did was here, I put it for you. I put it for you. It's gonna be like this. This is the new group, right? And the value, this is the original column. If original column is 8, then it's bin number 5. I have a little typo here. This should say bin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, if it's less than if it's greater than 5, if greater than 8, it falls under bin number 5, and this is going to be 8 or above, right? So this is what it's doing. It's converting the numeric into the categorical. You can also, so binning is not only for the numeric variables. You can also bin the categorical, but if you do this, it's not gonna do the groups for you. It's not gonna define the groups automatically for you. You will have to define them yourself. So, like for example, see this is a policy type. I can right click and I'm gonna do create, oops, not policy type, but I wanted to do the policy something subtype where I have more values, right? I want to select something that where I have more values so that it makes more sense. And in this case, over here, if you see this, I selected the column name is a policy. So I need to find this column, or I can do this. Watch, I can type this. I can search here, and it's gonna give me this is a column, and I can do this create a data group. And look, this is a categorical variable. I cannot, it did not create the groups for me. I have to type the new group, and I can do corporate, right? I can do corporate. This is a group, right? I created the group myself. Now what I need to do, this is the members of the group. So in here, I see all the values. It's a categorical. What I could do is this. I can just click here and click on this arrow. It will add this value to this group. It will add this value to the group, right? So this is one. Now I create a new group. I'm gonna call it personal. Okay, I'm gonna call it personal, and then I'm gonna take these and add it here, right? So this is nothing but just a new group, right? Then I'm gonna do another one, and I'm gonna call it special. But then here, this is special. There is a, I believe there is a shortcut. I can just add all of this. Look, I selected this, right? And well, I can add one at a time too. See this? I can do this, but I believe there was a shortcut where I could just do, oh, here it is, group remaining into here. So I had an option to group remaining, okay? Okay. On here, you could choose the group and you can group all remaining items in the last one. So important here is to save it. Oh, where is it? I have to click on the OK button to save this. Ooh, it's a little stubborn today. It is the thunderstorm is a culprit. There is a T-storm in the area. Anyhow, oh, sometimes when you work on this, you need to be a little bit patient. Oh, I've never seen this before on the demo. So you have to click on the OK button. Well, if this doesn't work, I try alternatives. I try to do zoom so that I can see the button. Okay, what this did is it added the new column, but this is slightly different to what you saw because it's not gonna add the bin number column. It's just gonna add the new column that I created, okay? I'm just gonna add the new column, okay? So we got this. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save this. And I'm going to go back to my exploration. I'm gonna close this. And watch what's gonna happen. Now remember we added few columns. So I'm gonna go back to my exploration. Isn't it that nice? I'm gonna click here. Do you see this? What I just added, it should be in here. This is a group, but I messed up. I didn't put a descriptive name. I had to put a descriptive name because now I don't know what the hell is this, right? How do I know? I didn't put a descriptive name. Well, you know, I had to go and rename it, right? But anyway, for the purpose of this demo, just remember that, well, when you make a change to the data module and you restart this, right, you're gonna see all these changes here. And I believe one more thing that I didn't show you, it's the comparison card. Sorry about that. Sometimes this, so we showed this, we talked about this. Yes, I took a little bit different approach. We talked about it in a different order, but one thing I did not talk about it is a comparison card. It allows you to compare two visualizations with different filters at the same time. Like in this example, you see here, I have the same visualization where I'm comparing the males for males and females. I want them to be side by side, right? And I want to, when I select one data point in one, the same data point is highlighted in the other. That's what I want to do. So that's basically, you're looking at the two visualizations side by side. So, what I could do here is this. Look, I have one of my cards in here. So this is a total claim amount by marital status, right? What I could do, go to the data slots, and I can define my filter here. So in here, I can just go do perhaps I can do the state, and drag and drop the state. And, I don't want it to be color, I want it to be filter. I have to delete this. Delete. Oops. Remove. All right. So see this? That's the reason why I usually prefer to create the selectable filters, because it's very difficult to do drag and drop like this all the time. So look at this. Now I drag and drop this and I want it to be Iowa, right? I selected Iowa for the state. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this card. And to do that, I'm going in here. So this is a card that I'm looking at right now. And I'm going to duplicate it. See this? I'm going to duplicate it. This is a duplicate. Now I'm going into the duplicate in here. And I'm going to choose a different state. And the goal here is that I want to compare two states side by side. So I'm going in here and I'm going to go to my filter and I'm going to do the Kansas state. So here it is. I'm going to do OK. So see this, I've got two visualizations. So now what I have to do is, I have to select these two. I have to select these two. See this, I selected these two. Then I click over here and watch. I'm gonna do this now, compare. Do you see this? I selected these two and I click on this and I selected compare. Okay, now it's gonna show me side by side. Well, the difference here is a different state, right? In here, Kansas, and this is Iowa. And I can compare Kansas with Iowa, right? So marital status, I can look at this. What is the average total claim amount for a divorced individual in each state? Does the state make a difference, right? Probably not much in this case. Well, etc. I can compare the averages and so on. Notice this, if I move my mouse, right, this same point gets selected here. Okay, so this is a comparison visualization. Exactly what we have on these slides in here. Well, I showed the different one, but the idea is the same. And in here, this is how to save. Everything saved in my content. Then I put some links in here, okay? This is just the references. I realized that a lot of it is already in the classroom, but in the slides, I have to have some references, so to speak, okay? So, and you remember this, always save. Deletions cannot be undone, all right? So at least please remember that my name is Yelena. Please remember my name, okay? After this, you want to try to access your account. Make sure you can access without any issues. And when you access, if you go back to the welcome, please make sure that you see these folders in the team content, okay? If you don't, I will fix it. It's a very easy fix for me, okay? I just know where the configuration is. So you directly or your TA would need to contact me. I'm gonna need your username and I'll fix it because it's a separate setting, okay? So everybody has the same permissions, but to see this, it's a separate session. So if you don't see it, well, then you need to let me know because I did my best. I tested the settings as much as I could, but once in a while things happen. But I fix it quickly. So I am on top of my emails, you know, I'm usually quick with response. Okay, things like this, I take it high priority. Access to the system, all of that. If it's something in my control, if it's something that I can control of, it's gonna be quick. But sometimes the whole system is down, then I will have to work with the help desk. They have to address it because I control this application, you access to this thing, the Cognos, but there is another part of it, Citrix access, that's controlled by the IT support at university. Okay, so let me see, we have questions in here. Oh, thank you, Professor Moreta. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, I've been doing my best because this is I call it customer service, okay? That's my terminology. Anyway, so does anybody want to add something like Professor Moreta or Steve?
No,
Yeah?
I think it's an overwhelming amount of information as always, but it's the way to get started. And of course, since we've recorded it, it'll be available to watch over and over, and you can watch pieces and segments. This is a good way to learn the software. Elena knows everything that we should need to know about it, and she's good at letting us know. Remember, there'll be another session to cover some additional features in about a month. But this will get you going if you take a look at what you've done. The main thing to do is get in there and practice. You've got to try things. This is really good software once you get used to it. So, but the key is to practice, spend some time with it, try some things, experiment with it, then go ahead and do your assignment.
And I will send your instructor the copy of the slide, yes. And if you want to follow along, I mean, it's possible. It's in here. Oops. See this? If you go back, this is the team content. This is the data. And what I did is I put the data for the walkthrough. And okay, this is the one. Do not look at the one from the fall. Look at this one, the bottom one, okay? The reason I did not delete it is because, well, I didn't want to cause trouble in case someone else used it for something else. Well, okay, so this is the one. This is the one, claims and weather. That's the one I used, okay? All right. So the
All right.
same one is, yeah, Sprint, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. I'll send the link to the recording to the professors, and Yelena will send a copy of the slides to the professors, and they'll post it in the classroom. Have fun with this software and learn it, and you'll be in good shape. All right, have a good evening, everybody.